You search for a man's name online, public records, property records, business filings, court documents, nothing. You search his wife's name, nothing. You search his children, nothing. His known addresses, nothing. It's like he doesn't exist on paper. But you know who he is. You see him at events. You know his house. You know his cars. You know his businesses. Everyone knows him. He's famous, wealthy, visible. So where is his name? Where is his assets? Where is the paper trail? Here's the answer. He doesn't own anything. Not a single thing. His house, not in his name. His cars, owned by something else. His businesses, held by entities he controls but doesn't own. He has everything, and his name is on nothing. This is the ultimate wealth secret. The final layer, the thing most people never see. Control is power. Ownership is a liability. And the ultra-wealthy, they've systematically dismantled themselves, stripped away their own legal identity, until there's nothing left to attach, nothing to sue, nothing to take. Let me explain how this works and why it matters. Because this isn't theory. This is the architecture beneath every significant fortune. Meet David. David has $50 million, real estate, stocks, businesses, cash. If David owned everything in his name, he's a target. One lawsuit, one divorce, one bad deal, and everything is exposed. Everything is at risk. Everything can be taken. David doesn't do that. David has layers, many layers, invisible layers. Let's peel them back. First layer, the LLCs. Each property David owns in its own LLC. Each business in its own LLC. Each business in its own LLC. Each significant asset, separate container, silos. If someone sues over one property, they get that LLC. That's it. The other 49 properties, safe, untouched, protected. Second layer, the trusts. David doesn't own the LLCs. The trusts own the LLCs. Irrevocable trusts. Trusts David can't change. Trusts David can't revoke. Trusts with trustees who follow David's wishes, but trusts that are legally separate from David. Now watch what happens. Someone sues David personally. They win. Great. What do they take? David personally owns nothing. The house, trust owns it. The cars, LLC owns them. The businesses, other trusts own them. David has nothing in his name. The judgment is against a ghost. This is the principle. Strip the individual. Remove the target. Become invisible on paper, while controlling everything in reality. Third layer, the jurisdictions. Different states, different countries, different laws. Some places protect assets better than others. Some places have no time limits on trusts. Some places welcome wealthy families. David's trusts are in those places, spread across borders, protected by multiple legal systems. Fourth layer, the anonymity. Some entities don't list owners. Some jurisdictions don't require public filings. Some structures are designed specifically for privacy. David uses them. His name never appears, ever, because the system is built to hide him, legally, properly, irrevocably. Now you might be thinking, this sounds shady, like something criminals do. But it's not. It's legal. It's standard. It's how every sophisticated wealth plan works. Think about it. If you built $50 million over decades, through hard work and smart decisions, would you leave it exposed? Would you put your name on everything? Would you make it easy to take? Of course not. You'd protect it. You'd layer it. You'd make it untouchable. This is the difference between wealthy and ultra-wealthy. The wealthy own things in their name. They have targets on their backs. They worry about lawsuits. They stress about creditors. They lose sleep over what could happen. The ultra-wealthy, they sleep fine because there's nothing to take, nothing with their name on it, nothing the world can see. They exist in reality and disappear on paper. Let's walk through a real scenario. Imagine David buys a new house. $10 million, beautiful, ocean view, gated. How does he buy it? He doesn't write a personal check. He doesn't get a mortgage in his name. He instructs his team. His attorney creates a new LLC, Delaware or Wyoming or Nevada, somewhere with strong privacy laws. The LLC buys the house, cash from a trust. The trust is in South Dakota or Alaska or overseas. The trust is irrevocable. David is a beneficiary, not an owner. Now, who owns the house? The LLC. Who owns the LLC? The trust. Who controls the trust? A trustee. Who appointed the trustee? David. Who benefits from the trust? David. Who owns nothing? David. Who controls everything? David. This is the architecture. Own nothing. Control everything. Be invisible. Be untouchable. Now imagine someone wants to sue David over a business deal gone bad, over a car accident, over anything. They hire lawyers, they search for assets, they find nothing. No house in his name, no bank accounts, no stocks, no businesses, nothing. They can sue David. They can win. They can get a judgment for millions. And then they try to collect. But there's nothing to collect. David personally has nothing. The assets are in layers. Separate entities, different jurisdictions, protected by trust law. The judgment is worthless. This isn't evasion. It's planning. It's done years before any lawsuit. Decades before the wealth exists, before the targets appear. Because once you're wealthy, it's too late. Moving assets after a threat, that's fraud. Moving assets before, that's protection. The ultra-wealthy don't wait. They build the fortress first, then fill it with gold. Not the other way around. Let me give you a historical example. The Johnson family, pharmaceutical fortune, billions. Decades ago, they structured everything. Trusts in multiple states, LLCs holding each asset, family members as beneficiaries, and no one owning anything personally. Years later, a tragedy. A family member in a terrible accident. Lawsuits followed, massive claims, billions sought, and the result? Nothing. The trusts protected everything. The layers held. The family's wealth survived, intact, because they built the fortress first. This is the lesson. Wealth isn't what you own, it's what you control. Ownership is exposure, control is power. The ultra-wealthy learned this generations ago. They pass it down like a family recipe. Structure before accumulation, layers before assets, invisibility before visibility. Now, you might be thinking, I don't have $50 million. Why does this matter to me? Because the principle scales. You don't need billions to use protection. You need assets worth protecting. A house, a business, some savings. Even a few $100,000 is worth protecting. Because lawsuits don't care about your net worth. Accidents don't ask how much you have. Creditors don't check your bank balance before they come. One bad event, one lawsuit, one divorce, and everything you've built, gone. Unless you structured it first. You can start small. An LLC for your rental property, a trust for your house, separation between your personal life and your assets, basic layers, simple protection. The ultra-wealthy spend millions on lawyers, not to avoid taxes, not to hide crimes, to protect what they built, to make themselves bulletproof, to ensure that one mistake doesn't wipe out generations. You can do the same, on your scale, with your assets, using the same principles. Own nothing, control everything, be invisible, be protected. This is the final lesson, the one they don't teach, the one you have to discover yourself. Wealth isn't about what you accumulate, it's about what you keep, and you keep nothing that has your name on it. The ultra-rich never own assets in their own name because they understand ownership is a liability, control is power, and the only safe fortune is the one no one can see, no one can find, no one can take. Now you know the architecture, the layers, the reasons, the method. The only question left is, what are you going to protect? And how will you build your fortress before you need it?